Okay, well, this is Mastering Microsoft Word's advanced topics, and there are so many topics, and these are some of them. Like I mentioned, templates, track changes, mail merge, table of contents, working with large documents. All of this is in this presentation, which you are going to get at the end of this training, but I'm not going to be able to go in depth on each one of these. This is an overview of what you should know in mastering those advanced tools. Now let's start with templates. Now I'm going to be using this PowerPoint presentation, but also jumping into Microsoft Word Live so that I can show you. And for some of you, you may have already used templates, so I just want to make sure that those of you that have not know that templates are available. I do mention it in most of my classes, so you might have heard it before, but let me jump into Microsoft Word. And when you go to File and New, you're able to see some of the templates, but more importantly, you're able to click in this search bar right here, and you're able to type what it is that you want to create. So if you're creating, for example, a book, you can type in book and take a look at some of the templates that pop up. And if you're typing in, let's say, for example, a brochure, can type in brochure and then take a look at these are threefold brochures, and these pictures are not set in stone, so you can change the pictures. If you're looking for example, a certificate, you want to give out a certificate to someone who's doing a great job, you can certainly find certificates and click on them and use them. Letters, business letters, so I'll just put in letters. Now what happens is it'll bring up cover letters, and if you scroll down, you will see all types, and sorry, here it comes. It'll have cover letters, resignation letters, letters requesting information. As we keep going, business letters. So if I click on one of these, for example, let me click on this business letter for a moment, and let me click on create. And this is what you do no matter what type of template you would be using. And here it would come up. So it would allow you to put in your logo name here. It would allow you to take this text and highlight it and put in your company name here. And it would, now these are tables, so it already has tables set up so where you can click and type in the information. So you could type your name, the recipient's name, and then of course you type in your salutation. So, oops, sorry, let me hit undo there. So you always highlight first and then type. So the fonts are there. Obviously it says on the insert tab, galleries include items, and it goes on and talks. It's trying to teach you a little bit about using styles. And so you would just start typing here, and then you would click and type in a closing. So you see how easy using a template is. Now, the only template that we do not advise that you use, but if you do use them, I have a workaround, is a resume. So if I go to File and I go to New, and I type in into the search box once again, resume, and let's just say I want to use this first resume, and I click on it and create it. And I'm not saying that you should use this resume. I'm just saying that you can, but notice there are tables here. And so the tables, there's 2 columns of information here, and tables are not read very well by applicant tracking systems. And so if you want to use this particular resume and you know that you're applying for a small company and they're not using an applicant tracking system, then feel free to go ahead and do so. If you need to send this to a Fortune 500 company that 99.999% is using a applicant tracking system, and the applicant tracking system may not read the data well. And what do I mean by that is that it may not understand from left to right what the data is saying. And so you're taking a risk of maybe it not being not reading all of your skills or your education or whatever you're putting, of course, on your resume. So one of the things that you can do is come on up to Layout and come on over to the right, Convert to Text. Now that means that I had to click on the table first, and this little 4-headed box it has a four-headed arrow in the box. That's an indicator that this is a table. So I clicked on the four-headed arrow. It highlights the table. I come up to layout, convert to text. And now when I convert to text, I can use tabs and or commas or paragraphs, but I'll use tabs. And you can see that it does change the look of this by taking the columns out. And again, you might then go back and decide to put in some tabs or hit enter here, there, or just decide to, put in a name and type the name and maybe even reduce the font and so forth so that you can rework this. But the basics are here. So you can use the basics. But again, I would just be wary of using a resume because most of these resume templates come with tables. Now, again, you can convert them, of course, and that's what you can do. So File, New, and let's say I go and I want to create a flyer. And I have a certain topic that I want to talk about, and let's say it's a flyer about an open house. So I'm going to click on this one, and you can double click or single click. When you single click, you need to use the Create button, but when you double click, it'll open it right up. And so this is your document now. So whatever you do to this document, you are not changing the template. You are using it as a document. So you can click and notice if the four-headed arrows here. So there's a table here. So if working with tables is not easy for you, you could actually just go again to layout and convert to text. And then it would maybe be a little bit easier for you to just click and hit enter and move things down, or type where you need to type, and then of course hit enter and move that down. It might be a lot easier for you if you're not used to using tables. So always look for the little four-headed arrow. And then some of these pictures you can double click on, and you can, or just click on and delete. And so I can, let's see if I can take this picture and delete it. There we go. And I can insert a new picture. So if this house, for example, if I'm doing an open house and this is not the house that I would like to display, I just click and delete and add in my own pictures. So I'm hitting delete right now. All right, does that make sense? So you're able to use File, New, and click on Search, find any type of document that you would like to create. It's all built in. So even surveys and outlines and anything that you can put in. If you want to feel free to put something into the chat, feel free to do so, and I'll look it up to see if it's there. But any type of document from Microsoft Word. And that happens in PowerPoint and Excel as well. So take a look at those templates when you get into those software packages. Now let's bounce back to the PowerPoint. So notice I have the steps here. Find and use a template. So you click on File, you click on New, you choose a template from the list, or you type what you're searching for. You click on Create, and a copy of the template will be on your screen. You can customize that template and save it as a new template as well. So as I showed you to customize the template, working, changing, doing whatever it is that you need to do to change the template, if you think you're going to be using that document again and again as a new template, you can choose File, Save As, and save it as a Word template so that it will pop up when you're looking for templates, and they'll be considered, look at the bottom here, they'll be considered your own personal templates that you've customized. If you think you're only using this template once and you want to save it as a document, you would just save it as a document instead of a template. So, questions about a template? I know that was quick and fast and hopefully easy. And again, a demonstration of how to go to File, New, click and search for any type of template. So I'll do one more. I'll look for a, let's say booklet. I think I'll try booklet this time. And here's a booklet. So a poetry booklet, a tech booklet, a travel booklet. So again, when you just double click on them, they'll pop up. These are your documents. You're not using the template, you're using a copy of the template. And here are the four-headed arrows that you would click. Notice these are tables. If you're used to working with tables, stick with it. If you're not, you can convert them. All right. Excellent. Okay, let's keep going. I don't see any questions in the chat. So either you're all up to speed with this or it's not something you'll use, but I think it's for everyone. Everyone, I believe, would need to use a template. It's the customizing the template that I think is the fun part and saving it as your own. All right. So working with large documents. How many of you work with large documents and how large are the documents? So I'd like to know that answer and you go ahead and put that in the chat. So what is a large document that you're working on? Maybe even the topic, just so we can have some fun and just talk about that with everyone on this training today. So how many pages is your document? So term papers, great. All right, scientific papers, 20-page papers. That's a long document for sure. Okay. Financial documents. Excellent. 34-page Excel exercise manual. Nice. 100 pages. Very good. All right. Okay, so what are the biggest difficulties in working with large documents? Number one, it's the consistency of the formatting of the text. So notice the first bullet here says apply styles. So that's the first thing I'm going to show you, and you may already use it, but we need to use styles anyways for a table of contents, which we'll be doing next. So again, stick with me even if you've already done styles before. So applying styles. Styles are very important. And then maneuvering around a large document is the second typical problem that people have. And using the navigation pane is a great tool. And then sometimes needing to create, let's say you are creating a book or a booklet or something that has chapters, and let's say 10 people are working on this document. Everyone has their own chapter that they're creating and you're going to put it all together. That would be called a master and a subdocument that you would need to know using Outline View. So I'm going to be talking about these three things and in intertwining them into this training. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to bring up a document. Now, it is a little disappointing. It is not a long document, but I'm going to call it my master document. And what I'm going to do, just for sake of playing around with it, is leave it like this. It's 2 pages, and that's all it is. So I'm going to just leave it like this, and we're going to see how we can work on this and play around with this. So the first thing I'm going to do is talk about the formatting. So I'm going to go to the Home tab and I'm going to show you that styles are right here. How many of you have used styles before? Just go ahead and put a yes in the chat. That'll be good for me to know. You can put a no in as well. Very good. All right. All right. So unless everyone is just sitting back and watching and listening, which is fine, but I'm going to go with the people that have answered. And so some people say they just didn't practice too much, and then a lot of people are saying no, and a lot of people are saying yes. So, all right, well, let's keep going. Thank you for answering, by the way. So styles. Styles are right here on the Home tab, and if you click this down arrow, it'll show you all the styles. Now, all the styles depending on the document that you're working on. So if you bring up a template and you use a template, there'll be different styles that come with the template that you're using. If you just do File, New, Blank Document, and start typing, these are the styles that are typically going to pop up. Now, there are styles called headings. Headings 1, 2, and you'll see 3, 4, 5, 6, and all the way up to 15. They're not listed here because it would take up a lot of room, but they will pop up if I use a heading 1 and then a heading 2. A heading 3 will pop up. If I use a heading 3, then a heading 4 will pop up in this list. There are text styles, so normal. There's a heading 3 here. There's a title style. There's a subtitle style. Now you can create your own styles. Notice down here it says create a style. And so you can create your own style and you can use the styles that are here. So let's take a look at the PowerPoint for just a moment. Apply styles. Well, what does that mean? Well, let's take a look. All right, let's go back to Microsoft Word. And I'm going to be using this master document. And in the master document, I'm going to highlight, for example, this particular heading, and I'm going to just come up to the styles, and I'll say that this is a heading 1. Now this heading 1 is Times New Roman 10, and that's what it is. And you may not like that. You may decide that you want to build your own style. So off of this style, you can build your own style. So you could click this down arrow, as I mentioned, create a style, give it a name. So I'm going to call it, this document is the Northeast document. So I'll call this the Northeast heading. And I'm going to click on modify. And when I go to modify, I'm going to show you this right here. Bring this up a little bit. Notice there's format way down here at the bottom. So I'm going to click on format and I'm going to go to font. And I'm going to decide that Times New Roman, let's say that that is the font that I want to use, but maybe I want bold and italic. Maybe I want, which is probably old school, but I'm going to use it just so that you can see physically the changes that I'm making. And I'm going to use 16 font size. And I think I'll even choose a color so that again, it'll be just very easy for you to see what I'm doing. And I'm going to click OK and then OK. Now that has changed it. And I want you to understand that it has created a new style for this document called Northeast. So now I can take any other headings that I want. So I'm going to go down and find one of these headings here. And I can apply the Northeast that I created, which is the new style that I created off of heading 1. That didn't change heading 1. That just added a new style. So say, for example, again, sometimes I know you like to see things more than once. So let's say I take this question and I decide to click this down arrow and I decide to use, let's say, a heading 3. Now a heading 3 is blue, but it's not bolded. So I'll go click the down arrow and I'll create a style. And this is going to be called a question style, I'll call it, and I'll modify it. And I'll come down to format and font and I'll bold it and maybe I'll change the color blue to a little bit lighter blue so you can see it. And I'll click OK and OK. So now there's a new font style as well. And we'll take a look here and it's called question. So now I'm going to highlight by using my control key, holding down my control key every time I click with my mouse out to the left-hand side. And I'm going to highlight all of these questions and I'll scroll down, lifting up my control key as I scroll and click. And so now I'm going to apply this style that I just created called question to all of this text. So every question is now formatted with the style called question. Okay, does that make sense? All right, so those are customized styles. The only thing is when you are using a customized style, they may not be recognized with a table of contents. So keep in mind when I show you a table of contents, we're going to be using the heading styles that come with Microsoft Word. So I'm just taking a look in the chat. Okay. All right, good. Some people are putting in some comments. I love those comments. Keep them coming. All right, so styles are very important. And styles can then be used within a document. And so I'm just going to do Control A right now. And I'm going to clear all of the formats so that and this is the clear button right here on the Home tab in the font group. And I'm just going to now use heading 1s and 2s and 3s. So here's a heading 1. Then I'm going to come down and benefits is going to be a heading 2. And all of these questions, I'm going to click on them again. These are going to be heading 3s. Oops. Sorry about that. Oop, here I'm going a little crazy with my clicking. Oh, that's funny. All right. So I'm going to highlight this and this and this. I'll be a little bit more careful, I hope, this time. There we go. All right. Another question. And now I'll use a heading 3. So let's find a heading 3 and take a look here, formatting this document with heading 1s, 2s, and 3s. And I think I'll take these right here and make these heading 2s. So again, click this down arrow, find a heading 2. And now I've formatted this consistently using the built-in headings and styles, I should say, which are the heading styles from Microsoft Word. Now, why did I do that? Again, I like to use those built-in styles or create my own, and so I can use either one. I wanted to show you what it would look like. Now, once I create a document and format it using styles, and I highly recommend that you use styles, and I highly recommend that you use the built-in styles and then create your own from those built-in styles. Why? Because the next thing that you might want to do is go to View and choose the navigation pane on the left-hand side, which is right here in the Show group. And when you choose a navigation pane, I want you to notice everything that you've applied a style to using heading 1, 2, 3, etc. up to 15 is going to be shown on the left-hand side. Now I do want to show you, I'm going to take this right here, this paragraph, and double click, and I'm going to show you, I'm going to go home and show you that there is a style that's built in that's called an intense quote. So I'm going to find it right here and click on it, and look what it does. It beautifully applies bold and italics and a line across the top and the bottom and centered text. So that's pretty neat. It formats it quickly, but it doesn't show it in the navigation pane. I want you to understand that in the navigation pane, it's going to show heading styles. Okay, so it's going to show heading styles. And why is this navigation pane so useful? Take a look right here. This document can be saved with the navigation pane open. So if I have the navigation pane open and I save this document, this is how it's going to look to anyone who's opening the document up. Now, there may be several of you working on this document, or there may be, for example, this might be an HR document, and these are topics, let's say, about benefits, for example, or whoever's using this document about the Northeast School Mentoring may be more interested in how much it costs. And so look what they can do, which I'm going to do, is click on how much does it cost, and it's going to go right there to the document information that I applied as a heading. Maybe I'm interested in looking at what are the benefits for the volunteer. When I click on this on the navigation pane, it allows me to jump directly to that topic because I made that topic a heading. Now I do want you to notice a heading 1 style in the navigation pane is left aligned. A heading 2 style is indented. And then even a heading 3 style, let's take a look, and these two here, I'm going to make these, maybe I'll go back and make these a heading, it's a heading 2. All right, there we go. And so that heading 2, any indents you'll see, sometimes the heading 3s are even indented even a little bit more on the navigation pane. So a navigation pane shows you all of your headings that you applied as styles, which is great, but it also is more useful than that because whoever's looking at this document, as I mentioned, can click on a topic here on the left and it actually goes there to that topic in the document. This is really great for very large documents. Now, the other thing that the navigation pane does is take a look on the left-hand side. If I click on pages, it'll show me these pages here so that if I had, 100 pages, like some of you said that you're working on, you'd see icons for 100 pages. The icons would get smaller the more pages that there were there, and you'd be able to click and go to these different pages within the document. You can also click on results and do a search. So Word can find just about anything in your document. So let's say you were looking for something in the document that was not already a style, that it's not in the navigation pane, but you wanted to find that. So for example, so it's not a find and replace. Right now it's searching for a particular bit of information. So if I look for self-esteem and hit enter. So notice it says a child's self-esteem growth is what it finds. Notice it makes whatever I find yellow, that's not permanent, that's just for your eyes to see where that is. If I click on it, it goes directly there anyways, but it's showing you that. So if I take away, oh, and I spelled that, yeah, there we go. If I take that away and I type in something, let's say personality, it'll find me where that word is and give me the sentence that that is in. Now, if I find something that is very common and used quite a lot in the document, let's say volunteer, it'll show me the many places on the left-hand side in the navigation pane and the many places in yellow here. Again, that yellow is not permanent. It's just for your eyes to show you where that keyword is that you're looking for in the document. So headings, pages, and results. And always clear the results when you're done with it. And that way there, the headings and the pages and the results won't have that yellow on there. All right. What questions do you have about the navigation pane? How many people have used the navigation pane before? It is a great tool. It's been around for many, many years in the different versions of Microsoft Word. And it is a very useful tool. And again, can be saved. When you save the document, the navigation pane will stay there so that when people are looking at this document, they can go to different topics. All right, very good. Okay, so that's one of the things that I mentioned as well in the using styles, and you need to use the styles in order to have the navigation pane run. And so you might want to make a note, what styles do you need to use if you want your navigation pane to work well? Well, the style that you're going to be using are the heading styles. Now, the last thing, working with large documents, there's more than this last, but maybe using outline view for master and subdocuments. And how many of you have used outline view before? Go ahead and put that in the chat. So many of you are saying no, and some of you are saying yes. That's great. So if you've used outline view before, oh, got many more no's than yeses in this one. And somebody has used it, but not too much. Why did you use outline view? What was your purpose? And you can put that in the chat if you like. If not, don't worry, you're going to see a purpose for it. But I'm always curious on what you're using outline view for. All right, don't see anything in the chat just yet, but you might be still typing. So let me show you what outline view is good for. And I'll be bringing a Microsoft Word document. Oh, I've got it up on the screen already. And let's take a look at some of these things. All right, hold on just a second. I'm bringing a few things up on my other screen as well. All right. Okay, so here's a document. It is a very similar document to the one we just saw. It is a couple of pages. And again, I just didn't want to use a long document so that it would confuse you by me scrolling up and down so much. So I'm just using this small document here. Notice I'm going to go to View off of the ribbon. And then I'm going to go to Outline View. An outline view is for main topics and subtopics as well, but it's also for you to be able to insert documents and then from other, let's say, Word documents that you'd like to bring the data in instead of doing a copy and paste. And then you'll be able to collapse what we call these subdocuments. So you can show all levels of formatting here. So say, for example, again, I take one of these titles while I'm in outline view, and I'm going to format it with styles. Now it's always best to format the styles before you get into outline view. So this would be what outline view looks like when you're just using a document without any styles. And let me jump back to my other master document. I'll close the navigation pane on the left. I'll go to view and outline. And now this is what it looks like when you already have styles. So again, typically you would start a document. You wouldn't typically go into outline view first. Let's see, here it is, because this document would be pretty plain, but you can go to home and apply a style while you're in outline view. So it still is doable, and notice you'll get these plus signs, you'll get indents. So I'm going to go to a document that already has it done as we were working on this with styles. And I want you to notice this plus sign here beside benefits for the volunteer. Okay, and when I click on the plus sign, it lets me highlight the entire topic here so that I can reformat it if I want. Now, I want you to notice they're indented because these are called, they're not sub-documents, these are called subtopics. Notice it does put a section break, and notice it does continue with the formatting. So if I've already used styles, this is great, so I can use this in outline view. Now, I can show different levels right up here. So I'm in the outlining tab, I'm clicking the down arrow, and let's say I just want to see the level 2s. So when you're using outline view, it shows your document as an outline so that you're seeing the styles that you used in the, and then notice, for example, I can hit this plus sign and it will highlight this so that I can go to it if I want, but it's more important that you click on Show Document. And if you're just seeing the level 2s, it's not for editing. It's for seeing the outline of the topics of your document. So let's say I choose level 3s. I don't have any. All right, level 1s. There we go. I only have one level 1, so one main topic. And then if I want to show all the levels, I can click on all, and there they are. Now, when I do show document, notice other buttons pop up. And then notice I'm going to click on insert. So I'm going to click my mouse right here, let's say, right above, right below, I should say, this. Remember, this was a quote, so I'm going to click my mouse right here. I'm going to go to insert. And I'm going to go and find some other documents that I might want to include in this document that I'm using. So I'm going to go and look at some of the subfolders that I have and find a Word document that I might have and add this into, let's say, sweet tooth recipe. I'm going to bring this in, and there is the subdocument. So it took an entirely different document, kept it as its original, now took a copy of the text, how it was formatted in that document, and brought it into this document. This is called a subdocument. Notice this button here. I can do collapse subdocuments. And let's say I save the changes first. And it collapses that document and leaves, look, a URL. It leaves where it got this document. So it was on my desktop in the Jan's training folder, and it's called the Sweet Recipe Contest Completed. And now if I expand subdocuments up here in the ribbon, it will expand it. So using outlining can show you all the levels of formatting that you did using your styles. It can show other documents that you inserted, or let's say I go down here and I want to add something here. Of course, I can add and type. Let's say, for example, I wanted to create. When I click on create, oh, this section does not consist of heading levels. Let's go back to here and let's do it here. I click on create, and this creates a whole nother sublevel of this particular document. And whenever I type in, it is able to collapse and expand this. So I can collapse my subdocuments as long as I save. So notice that first piece now became a subdocument that I actually created inside this document. And then this document here that I inserted in from my hard drive is here. I can expand them or collapse them. And so this is a way for many people to work on this document when you share it, of course, but also a way of compartmentalizing and organizing your data with, it's just regular text. Before you were in normal view, so which is called print layout view in Word. So you're in print layout view, and you can see the document that's been added in. I use the sweet recipe contest so you can dramatically see the difference. It's been added into the document. When you want to look at it in outline view as an outline, you go to view outline, where you're able to collapse and expand, where you're able to show different levels. And notice if I take this check mark off here, show text formatting or not. So I can show the formatting or not. Sometimes the formatting visually gets in my way with my creativity and with the content, let's say. So I'm going to be clearing the formatting from my eyes, but there's a button here that brings the formatting right back, which says show text formatting. You're able to insert pictures, anything that you want in the document, but you're looking at it as an outline. So you're looking at it as topics and subtopics as well as sub-documents. Would this be helpful for you? Would outline view be something that you would use while creating or editing a document? Let me know in the chat. So here's the question you have to ask yourself is, when I use a large document, do I have other documents that I want to insert in? Do I have consistent formatting? Do I need the ability to look at the main topics versus the subtopics, so the different levels in the document? If the answer is yes, then you go to View, you go to Outline View. Why? So number one, you may want to show the different levels. Remember heading 1s, heading 2s, heading 3s. Those are, heading 1s are main topics, heading 2s are subs, heading 3s are sub-subs. So they're not as important topics. So you may only want to see, for example, all the subtopics and what your outline of your document is. Is it flowing? Is it contiguously talking about a particular topic, or are the changes in the topics, say these are paragraphs or say these are chapters, are they flowing? If they're not, then you'd want to go back and look at all the levels. You'd want to close your outline view and maybe change your styles. So for example, I might come down and take the benefits here and change my styles to my heading 3s instead. And then when I go back into my outline view, I'll go back up. I can only show the level 3s. And then I can see the topics for the level 3s and what topics I had for my level 2s. Does it make sense? These are subtopics within a main topic. And then, of course, one of the great things about using outline view is your ability to, when you click on Show Document here on the ribbon, insert. Insert other documents within your document that other people are creating and you need to add to this document. So you can go to Insert. You can find a document and let's say it's a PDF file, and I'll just see if there's any PDFs that are small that I can use. Let's see. So these are all pretty big PDFs. But I'll try the PDF here. And notice it'll convert that PDF into Word. And it's just taking a little bit of time. Down here at the bottom, you can see that it's converting the Word Tips and Time Savers PDF that I have, that I was created in PowerPoint, and bringing it in. Now notice it says the style heading 1 exists in both documents. So in the Word Tips and the master document, would you like to rename the style in the sub-document? I would just say yes, and I would just be able to rename that and continue on. But here is the document that has been placed in. It's a huge document, kind of a silly document to bring in, but I wanted to show you that it would bring in a PDF as well. And so then I could collapse all subdocuments and then see all subdocuments as well. So when I collapse, notice it's showing me the path that the document came from. So the original document is still intact, and now I have a copy of it inside my document. All right. So again, if that is something that you'd like to use, maybe investigate a little bit more about outlining. I know it can be confusing, somebody mentions. Hopefully seeing it the second time and explaining it the second time was helpful. And so you're able to maybe understand that it is a tool that you can use. Maybe you will, maybe you won't. All right, let's close the outline view. Okay, so I'm going to just take some of this and change it up a little bit, but remind you of a couple of things. The Northeast Project, this text, I'm going to put as a heading 1. You can always make it bigger. You can always center it, but that's going to be a heading 1. Remember benefits for the volunteer. Let me highlight these and remind you that I changed these to a heading 3. And maybe I'll bold that so it's easy for you to see at home. And these questions, I won't highlight them all, but just to remind you that these questions, I highlighted them and applied a style called a heading 3. Oh, or a heading 2 I did. Sorry, heading 2. So if I come down, you'll see that what is the purpose for using styles? Number 1, it's for consistency and formatting. Number 2, it's for using the navigation pane so that they show up and I'm able to click and bounce to a particular topic in a document. Number 3, it's for outlining so that I can go and view outlining as I just showed you and see the different levels of my document as well as insert other subdocuments. And now number 4, the fourth reason for using styles is using a table of contents. So if you want to create a table of contents and have it generated by Microsoft Word, you will need to apply styles. Look at steps 1 and 2 here. You will select the text that you want to appear in your table of contents. And what you will do is you will apply a heading format style. Heading 1, 2, 3. Ring a bell? To all the text that you want to appear in your table of contents. So we've already done that. We've done that to this Word document. We've called it master because we wanted to work with it and use the navigation pane, use outlining, and now another purpose for applying styles in a document is so that a table of contents will be generated automatically. So let's see how that's done. First of all, table of contents typically show up in the beginning of the page. So I am going to do Control Enter, and this is going to create a new page, and I'm going to click my mouse right here. So someone asks, are all the titles heading ones? Well, that's up to you, but in my document, all my titles in the document, the main title is a heading 1. These are heading 3s. These are heading 2s. So the questions are heading 2s, and the benefits for the volunteer are heading 3s. All right, just so you know, because that's going to be important when you look at your table of contents. So I'm going to click here on an empty page right above my document, which is included, of course, in my document, and I'm going to go to the References tab. And notice Table of Contents is right here. So when I click on Table of Contents, there are two different styles. One is called the automatic table that says Contents, and the other one is the automatic table 2 that says Table of Contents. And then there is a third choice to create manually, but I'd prefer to use this built-in feature, and I like the Table 2 style, so I'm going to click here just once. And a table of contents is created based on the document that is connected to it. What does the table of contents show? The table of contents shows main topics, which are heading 1s, any subtopics, in this case, these are heading 3s, and any other subtopics, in this case, these are heading 2s. Now you could have heading, remember there are 15 heading styles, so you could have several indents in your table of contents, and indents show, so these questions are only indented a little bit, those are heading 2s. These benefits are indented a little bit more, and those are heading 3s, and every heading style would be indented depending on the number that you chose. Now notice the page numbers are automatically placed here, and this is pretty neat. This table of contents, watch when I go to File and I go to Print. This is what the table of contents would look like, so it looks like a really nice table of contents. I'll go back to the document, but what's more important, this is a working table of contents. So what this means is I can take my mouse and bring my mouse to any one of these options here on the table of contents and, and point to it and do Control click. And it'll bring me to this particular piece right here of this document, and I can work on it. From the table of contents, it brought me here, very similar to the navigation pane, but it's a table of contents that will be able to be updated and shows me the page numbers automatically. So again, if I'm interested in reading about the Northeast Community Association and I want to go down to that piece in my document, I can do Control click and it brings me right there. I can add more information there if I so choose. Now, the information that I add, I might, for example, decide to add in a new topic. So working with parents. And that new topic, maybe I'm going to make that a heading 3. So I'm going to go to the Home tab and click the down arrow and choose heading 3. All right, so now this is heading 3, working with parents. Let's go back up to the table of contents. Hold on a second, I'm gonna take a little drink. And I want you to notice that it's not here. How do we get that new topic that I put into the document into the table of contents now? All right, let's take a look. When I click on the words table of contents, notice it says update table. When I click on update table, I have two choices. One is to update the page numbers only, and the other is to update the entire table. So I'm going to click right here, update the entire table, and I'm going to click OK. Do you see? Working with Parents shows up, and it's on page 3. Now, take a look. I'm going to take this benefits for the volunteer, this topic right here. I'm going to cut it from here, which is on page 1, and I'm going to put it on page 2. Now let's go back up to the table of contents. It still says that it's on page 1, so I'm going to click on table of contents as I just did, update the table. And instead of I can do update the entire table, but really all I really want to do is update the page numbers now. So if I click OK, then benefits for the volunteer are on page 3 now, not on page 2. It is still a heading 3, so that's why it's indented, and it's still in alphabetical order as well. But what I might try to do is do update entire table now and click OK. And now that's a lot better, isn't it? Because benefits for the volunteer should be on a page 3 with all the other page 3s. Do you agree? All right. So working with a table of contents is quite easy. The only thing you have to do is make sure that you select your text and you highlight your entire document with heading styles, heading 1s, 2s, 3s, and so forth. And then you click at the top of the page. So step number 3, I clicked at the top of the page and I added a page break. I did Control Enter. That's just a quick keyboard shortcut. Then I clicked on that empty page and I went to the References tab and I chose the table of contents. And so clicking on a style of the table of contents that I chose, and it brings up the table of contents. Any questions that you would like me to answer about the table of contents? Let me take a look in the chat. And how many of you have created a table of contents before with you typing in the dots and typing the numbers in? I've been there before many, many years ago when the feature was not available. And this feature has been around for many versions of Microsoft Word, but sometimes you don't know that it's there. So hopefully this will be very helpful for you. But just remember, the table of contents will not be generated unless you use styles. And what styles do you need to use? Just like you did for the navigation pane and the outline view, you needed to use heading styles. All right, great. Good. I love those comments in the chat. Keep them coming. Now, you can type a manual table of contents if you like by typing in text in the dots, but remember, it'll never get updated, and you will not want to do that because so many things change within a document, and then you'd always have to go back and change the table of contents. All right, let's see what topics we have next. Track changes. Track changes is a great way of working with others on revisions. Now, track changes can be used with sharing a document as well as used with just one person at a time tracking their changes. So say, for example, you have a resume that you'd like to track the changes that you've made, or you have a document that you would like to work on and then email it to someone, and then they'll work on it as well on their own time, and then decide what changes will be kept. Now, track changes is an old feature, but it's a great feature. But typically nowadays, we would use more track changes with sharing documents. I don't have anyone to share the document with today in my training, so I'm going to show you just the rudimentary steps on track changes. All right, let's take a look at a document. Okay, hold on a second. Okay. All right, very familiar document, all cleaned up. And we're going to say, for example, that this document was sent to me and I was asked to turn on track changes so that when, let's say, my manager or someone else takes a look at this, that they'll be able to see what changes I've made and make a decision whether to keep them or not. So I'm working on maybe with a team or not at the same time. So sharing would be collaboratively working on the document at the same time. And like I said, track changes can be used that way as well with sharing. So notice there's a share button up here in the right-hand corner. I could share with others at the same time and in real time track the changes of the documents and see the different versions. And this would be used as well with Office 365 if you're using 365. But again, I'm just going to be using it as a document. Let's say that someone emailed to me and I'm going to go to review. I'm going to find this track changes button and turn it on. And the way that you do that is you click on track changes. And nothing happens on the screen until you start to edit the document. Oh, we'll just close that. Now, the first thing I want you to notice, it says simple markup. I'm going to change that to all markup. And then it's interesting why this keeps popping up. And then notice I'm going to go to show markup and I'm going to go to balloons and show revisions in balloons. What does that mean? Well, that means when okay, I'm just going to click on that. Let me save this. Oh, I'm having a little trouble with this document. Hold on a second. I'm going to just do save as, give it a new name, and maybe that will give me ownership and not bother us anymore. There we go. All right. All right. So again, I turned on track changes. I said all markup. I said show markup as balloons, show revisions in balloons. Nothing's happening on my screen until I start to edit. So let's go ahead and edit. I'm going to take this and I'll just do some simple formatting first. So I'll change the color to red, I'll center, and I'll make it larger. And look what's happening. The balloons on the right-hand side, these are considered balloons, are showing up, showing that Jan Romano a few seconds ago formatted this in this way. So for example, let's say I take this particular paragraph and hit delete, and there is the track change. It's tracking my changes. It's showing in balloons on the right-hand side that Jan Romano deleted this text. Now, if I decide to go and type in some text right here, all right, notice the text doesn't show up in a balloon. It shows up as red lettering text in this document. It won't stay that way because eventually I'm going to accept or reject the changes that are over here on the right-hand side. Notice the color that is being displayed for Jan Romano is red. No matter what color I decide to change this text to, that's not the correlation. So what happens is when someone's editing the document first, or each person is assigned a different color by Microsoft Word. So if there were more than one person editing the document, each person would have its own color. And of course, it would know my login because I log in using Jan Romano. So it would know that login. And so that it would show each person's name as they're editing the document. Now, let's just say, again, so many different people edit the document. You're going to have to just imagine this with me. So if someone is deciding to make this larger, again, their name would show up on the right-hand side. So this would continue throughout the document, whether they're sharing the document or you're just using the document on your own, your track changes will show up on the right-hand side. If you're sharing the document, everyone's track changes will show up on the right-hand side. If we're just using it as this document, which I am, so I'm not sharing right now, what I would have to do is save the document and then email it to someone, and they would track the changes as well. And then once everyone does their track changes, everyone does their changes, and Microsoft Word tracks, notice I'm going to go to the Review tab once again, and show you the accept button and the reject button. So someone in authority, so again, when you're working on a team, there's always 1, 2, 3, 10, whatever it might be, but usually there's a echelon of who has the topics that are the most important or that has the most knowledge, and they're the ones that are going to decide how this document's going to look when it's done. So notice when I click this down arrow on accept, I can accept each change individually, or I can accept all the changes, or I can then click on a change and decide to accept and move to the next change, which I will do. And then this text was deleted. Let's say I decide to click the reject button and reject this and move to the next. Now, if I reject someone deleting some text, it bounces right back. Okay, if I click on this text here and click on accept, the text changes to the font color that was used with this document. It's not red anymore. So I could come down and click the down arrow and accept all the changes in this document from here on. And all the changes are now accepted. I could reject the changes or accept the changes. So let me go back to the PowerPoint so you understand the big picture. You turn on the track changes when you open the document that you want to revise, you go to the Review tab and you turn on the track changes. I set up the display settings. So step number 5, I did from simple markup, I changed it to all markup. Step number 6, I decided to show the markup in the balloons, so I decided to show revisions in balloons, which are on the right-hand side, and I edit the document. And then notice, accept and reject the changes. Someone needs to do that. So that could be assigned, every few days, somebody will look through the document, or it could be at the end when the document is all edited. Depends on how many people. Now this is a one per time, one person at a time is editing the document. Then it's emailed to the next person. So this is much different than sharing the document all at the same time. And then you're shutting off the changes. Now, I wanted you to see this option because this is what you would do as well when you share a document. So you can track the changes while you're sharing a document as well, and you'll see the real-time changes. Track changes can be used, as I mentioned, one person at a time. So you could start a document like I did and track those changes and then email it to someone else, and they would come and turn on their track changes when they want to track the changes. All right, you can leave it all showing Jan Romano's changes and maybe the other 5 people that are editing this, and then finally it goes to the director and they'll decide what to keep and what to reject. Again, these scenarios are many, and so it just depends on what purposes you have in working in documents with more than one person. All right. Okay, so it's almost 11:15. Well, I have 11:10 on one clock, and I have 11 almost 15 in another clock, so we'll say that it's 11. Oh, it's 11:11. We're going to go with that. So we have plenty of time to talk about the next topic, but before we do, were there any questions that you would like to put into the chat about track changes? So when you share a document, are you sharing it in Outlook? No, you're sharing it in Microsoft Word. So when I go to the document, let's go to the document again. And I come up here and I click on share. What I need to do is I need to invite someone to share this document with. So I would type in a name or a group that typically had most likely within the Mass Higher Metro North OneDrive. I can copy the link and send it to others within Outlook as well. But basically I'm sharing it, and I can put in, let's say I put Nancy Quinn in here. And then I hit send. So I sent her a link to this document via email. When she clicks on the link, I don't know, I'm pretty sure she's pretty busy. I'm not sure she'll be able to click on the link. But when she clicks on the link, she'll be sharing the document with me in real time. I'll be able to see her name pop up here that she's sharing the document. We can track the changes the same way. All right, so that was a great question. Okay, remember I said to you that the topics that we were covering today, these were the topics that you should know. All right, let's go back and take a look. So templates, track changes, table of contents, working with large documents. Very, very important. Now, not everyone needs mail merge. And mail merge can be used with Outlook. Mail merge can be used with Excel or Word. So mail merge is quite large. And really, to do it justice, I need more than 15 minutes. So as I mentioned to you earlier, I wasn't sure if I'm going to get to all the topics, but I made sure that these topics were in my presentation so that you would get all of what you needed to know in these slides that I'm going to be able to transfer to you today. So let's jump back to the mail merge. And there are, let me just give you a big overview. First of all, you start with a basic letter. And notice I'm going to start with a thank you for a donation letter. Once you start with the letter, you just create it, you save it. Then you tell Microsoft Word that you're going to be using this as a mass mailing, or not a mass mailing, as a mail merge, I should say, so it's different than a mass mailing. And you're also going to connect it with a database. Now, the database can be in Excel, it can be in Word, or it can be in Access. And I'm going to show you how to create a Microsoft Word database. Then you're able to edit the recipient list, which is the database, and add more people at any time throughout the time that you're using Microsoft Word. So this letter could be sent every month, every week, and more people could be added to the database. Then you'd come back to the letter and you're going to add in certain fields. And the fields are going to be the address block, the greeting line, and in this case, the donation amount that somebody has donated. And then you're going to merge them together so that you get, depending on how many people that are in your database, let's say you have 20 people in your database, you'll get 20 customized letters. Now we could do this as an email through Microsoft Word, or we could do this as a printable letter in Microsoft Word. So are you ready? I am going to demonstrate this quickly, but I think it'll be worth seeing. All right, I'm going to start with this donation letter. So here's the donation letter, and there's no salutation, and there's quite a few things that are missing here on purpose. So this is a letter that I created. It says, thank you for your donation of. We appreciate your generosity. Sincerely, Thomas Grant, President. So I'm going to be using this with a database that I'm going to be creating in Microsoft Word, and I'll probably only have time to put 1 or 2 people into the database. So what do I do with this letter? The first thing I do is come on up to Mailings. I come over to this button that says Start Mail Merge. Now remember, you're going to get all of these instructions in the PowerPoint as well. I'm going to start the mail merge. Now here's where I could say that I'd rather do an email using my Outlook addresses, or I could do envelopes or labels, but I'm going to do this letter, and it's going to now say, verify within Microsoft that this is the letter. So within Microsoft Word, it recognizes that this is the document that I'm using. Now, because I have other documents open, there may be a little bit of problem down the road. And so a lot of the times I tell people to only have this one document open when you are using mail merge. It's just a little bit easier. So you might see me do a few little things along the way. So now I want to figure out who's going to get this letter. So I can do select recipients, and I can use, let's say, an Excel database. Or I can use my Outlook contacts if I'm using this as an email. But instead, what I'm going to do is type a new list, which means a new database, in Microsoft Word so you can see how it is. Now, the first thing I want you to recognize is it comes up with all of these fields, we call them, columns, and you can click on Customize Columns and edit them. So sometimes you don't need an address line 2, so you delete. Sometimes you don't need a country name because you're mailing it within the United States, let's say, so you delete. Sometimes you won't need their home phone, or their work phone. Maybe they've only given you, maybe you're only interested in their email address and their home phone. So again, it could be whatever you prefer, and you can add. For example, I'm going to hit add and put in donation dollars. So I'm going to put an underscore because it only can be one word, but if you put an underscore, you can connect the words. Donation dollars. And then notice where it puts it. I think I'll put it right up, and by using the move up button, I'm going to use it and put it up right after zip code. Now I click OK, and it customizes this database here. Notice there's a cursor flashing, so I'm going to type in Ms. Mary. I'm using the tab key to move to the next field because this is a table. Ms. Mary Jones. Let's say her company is the Green Company, and the address is 10 Main Street. And you should always type it as closely as you can get it to perfect spelling and capitalization. City is going to be, let's say, Woburn. State is going to be MA. Now, this is not a sophisticated or relational database. This is just a database where you're typing in data into a table. 01801, donation. I'm not going to put a dollar sign because the letter has a dollar sign. So I'm going to say 100.00. Now the home phone, let's say I don't know, and the email I don't know, so I hit the tab and the tab and a tab, and I get down to the next line. So this time I'll put in Mr. Frank Brown, and I'll put in Blue Company, and they are at 12 Pond Street, and that's going to be Boston, Mass. And I'm not sure what the zip code is, but I'll make one up. And he donated $150. So I'm going to add them in. You don't have to put them in order of how much money they make. You can always go and sort later, but I'm going to click on OK. And now that's the recipient list. But the recipient list needs a name, and that's why it needs to be saved. So that's why this popped up. And it's actually going to make it a Microsoft Access file for me automatically, but I'm going to call this donation database. So now this letter is going to be associated. Watch when I hit edit recipient list, this database that only has 2 people. I can sort, I can filter, I can find duplicates, I can delete, I can add more people as well. Now, the next step would be to put in the fields that I would like to have in my letter. So I'm going to put my cursor right here, and the first field that I'd like to add in is the address block. And notice on the Mailings tab, Microsoft Word has the address block here. So the address block, here's an example of what it would look like for Mary Jones. That looks good. I click OK. Now I'll enter a couple of times, and I think I'll put a greeting line in. When I click on greeting line, I get to decide what kind of greeting line it will be, but the default is Dear Mrs. Jones, so that will be great. I'll put the greeting line in. The next field I want to put in is the donation that was given. So that is not a button here, but you'll see Insert Merge field. So I'll click on Insert Merge field and find the donation dollars and put that there. This is the basic letter, which I'm going to now save. Make sure that I save this and file save. And now this is my donation letter with the field names that I'm able to merge with my database. These are the same field names that you would see. Watch when I bring this up in just a moment. You would see that part of your database was first name, last name, title, company name, city, state, zip. Well, Microsoft Word automatically knows what to put in an address and a greeting line. And then I put donation dollars. So let's finally go to merge. So notice it says Finish and Merge here on the Mailings tab. I'll click on Finish and Merge. And I could edit, but I'm going to print. Now, have you ever printed and realized that it didn't come out right? Absolutely. So instead, you'll see in my documentation that I always advise that you go to Preview Results first. So let's click on Preview Results. Notice the letter lets you preview what the Ms. Mary Jones letter would say. Miss Mary Jones of the Green Company, 10 Main Street, Woburn, Mass. Dear Mrs. Jones, Ms. Jones, thank you for your donation of $100. Now there is a space there, isn't it? So notice what I do. I'd take off the preview results. This is a toggle button. Click it once to turn it on. Click it again to shut it off. And I would make sure I delete that and save this file again. Then I would go back to preview results. And it looks better. There's Ms. Mary Jones. Notice she was my first recipient in my database. Notice the number 1 up here with an arrow beside it. I can click the arrow. Notice Mr. Frank Brown, Blue Company, 12 Pond Street, Boston, Mass. Dear Mr. Brown, thank you for your donation of $150. These are actual letters that would be printed, folded, stuffed in an envelope and mailed. If I wanted to do something very similar, remember, instead of using a letter, I could use Outlook as an email. And where would I get the recipients? The recipients would be my Outlook contacts, and I would be able to choose them from my Outlook contacts. Here, I wanted to make it nice and simple and show you that we started mail merge. We said we were going to be using a letter. We then created a database by typing a new list, and I typed in 2 people here. We were able to customize the fields, and we were able to add more people in with the edit button. Then we went to merge some of these main groups into our letter. So we did the address block, the greeting line, and the field called donation dollars, and you add those into the letter where you'd like them to be. You save the document again, and then you go to Finish and Merge. But as I recommend, before Finish and Merge, you preview the results. So each one of these would be printed. When you do file print, each one would get printed, and you would have the main document, and you would keep that so that you could keep going to the new recipient list. Or when I go to print documents, I want you to notice I'm able to tell it what records. So record 1 through 10, record 100 through 120, whatever record, each line of text that you put into a database is considered a record. So that was very quick, but that I wanted to show you. Most people think mail merge is daunting and overwhelming. It isn't really when you follow all of these steps. So what are the steps again? The letter, here are the 5 steps you'll follow to create the basic letter. You'll create the database, or you'll use a database that is already in existence. You'll edit the recipient list at times, maybe making a change or adding more people. You'll then go back to the letter and you'll add in the address block, the greeting line, or whatever fields that you want to add into your letter, like we did for donation. And then you'll merge. Notice step number 1, I say to use preview before you do finish and merge. You can also create mailing labels from your mail merge, and I wanted to put those steps in for those of you that are going to print, fold, put this letter into a envelope, but then slap a nice label on the envelope. And so I wanted to give you those directions. So what do you think about mail merge? It is not hard to follow. The very first time, it seems like there are a lot of steps, but try it, because mail merge is one of those older topics in Microsoft Word that stands the test of time. And on an interview, let's say you're an office admin, they may ask, do you know how to do mail merge? Do you know how to make labels? Do you know how to do a mail merge with, let's say, an Excel document? Again, you can follow these instructions. Practice before you get on that interview so that you can be much more confident in saying yes, that you can do so. All right, everybody, we are ready to do the file transfer. So I'm going to be doing that. I just want everyone to know that if the file transfer does not work, there's my email. I just put it in the chat as well. You can email me and ask me for the slides. So I'll be doing the file transfer in just a moment. The file can be transferred right from me to you on your PC today. And again, if you're not able to do it, it doesn't work, whatever the issue is, no worries. Don't worry, just email me. I'll be glad to send it to you. And we just want to make sure that you know that we really appreciate you being here today. We want to say thank you so much. And please, I put in the chat the YouTube channel and the calendar. So we want to make sure that you know that those two things are available. So use that YouTube channel URL that I put in the chat. And here are our phone numbers in case you want to make an appointment and come in and talk with a career counselor. So thank you again. It's been my pleasure to teach you. What was your favorite topic today? So while I'm doing the file transfer, could you tell me what was the most useful topic that you learned today or that you were able to watch demonstrated that you think that you're going to be using? Somebody says the navigation pane. That is great. So templates, excellent. And somebody says everything, styles. And for sure, styles are necessary to use for your navigation pane in your outline view and your table of contents. So great. We did it all, actually. Maybe a little quickly than you would have hoped, but that is great. Very good to have you all. So I'll do the file transfer in just a moment.